Hey there, welcome to the Platinum Edge podcast. I'm excited to have you here. My name is Christine Dwyer. I am the founder of the team Platinum Presenters with the team Beachbody Opportunity, and we are the health and fitness marketing leaders. Well, today I am excited to bring to you a topic that is very common to many entrepreneurs who are growing their own home businesses and multiple network marketing companies, as well as other home ventures that they are starting themselves. And the topic is about failing to launch and possibly quitting. So when should you quit? Why do you quit? And the failure of launching into that business. And now I brought up a thought of a story that came to my mind when I was reviewing what have I quit that I eventually came back into. I had a real hard time with this question for myself. And the real reason is because I don't quit a lot. I really don't quit. If I look at a lot of my life's paths, whenever I've decided to do something, I may do it horribly, but I don't quit. Like I was a 400 hurdler racer in track in high school, and I was horrible, like so horrible. I would get sick prior to that race even coming. Even though I hated it so bad, I dreaded that race coming up, and I always came pretty much last. I fell over those hurdles. I never quit though. So I was trying to find a moment in my past of when did I kind of quit or never really wrap my arms around something and then eventually come back to it. I came up with something that was relative to my business where I help people with monthly accountability groups. We call them challenge groups. We do it predominantly online. Well, when it first came out from the company, I mean, it was pretty hot and heavy. Everyone was promoting it and launching it and doing it. And a lot of people were having great success. And I totally thought I was going to be insanely successful doing it myself because I was already in the fitness industry. I was already a well-known fitness professional, and I had a huge following of people. I thought this was going to be a slam dunk, like no brainer. And so when I started to promote and put out there that I was going to be running these monthly accountability groups, it was crickets. I wasn't getting anyone coming to me, and I just couldn't understand it. And I tried for multiple months to try to get it to go. And then I kind of got upset about it, and not really upset personally, but more so angry about it, that it wasn't working out and that it's just stupid. It's just stupid. I don't need to do that. Why do I need to be a weight loss coach? I'm the person that helps people grow their businesses. I don't need to be a weight loss coach. And I totally bagged it. That's what I quit. I quit running those programs because I wasn't doing well with it and I wasn't seeing success out of it. And so I negated it first of all and then moved on and quit. But then some time passed and I realized that it's really critical and important as me being a leader to have a great understanding of how to help facilitate many of my teammates to be able to have success in that arena. And that's where I decided to jump back in and look at it and really see where was I going wrong. To give you the quick analogy or snapshot of why I was going wrong with it was because I was trying to do it the way other people were doing it, and I wasn't viewing it my way. I wasn't personalizing it to me. Would I want to join that challenge? And once I flipped that shoe to the other foot, where I just looked at what I was putting out there and saw, okay, well, would I want to join that challenge? Is that what I need? And that's when things switched. So that was one moment in my life where I saw that I actually did quit doing something. I negated it, but then I came back around. And then past then, I've had insane success consistently every month with it. And I've now created a system for my teammates to be able to follow so that they can launch and have an insane amount of success running these programs too, especially as they're building their business. So what I wanted to bring on the call today are two guests. These two guests are part of my team, and we have been really working strongly together for multiple years, but it didn't always start that way. And so when I said we were going to be talking about failing to launch and quitting, these two people have done that. And now they're not doing that. So I wanted to share with you my two guests. My first guest is Erin Goodman-Ferner. She is also known as EGF, and she is a 8-star qualifying coach with Team Beachbody and the Platinum Presenters organization, of course. And with that, she has really been a strong, pivotal leader. Many people, when they think of Erin or when they speak about Erin, they think and they say a lot of positive things. And the positive things that they say about her is that she goes above and beyond. She is super helpful. She's always motivating and inspiring. But when Erin first started, she signed up and did nothing. So that's going to be our first guest. And our second guest is another teammate of mine, and his name is Chip Hoffa. And Chip actually was the person that quit. He joined with me in 2011. No matter how much I tried to tell him or share with him or give him a small breadcrumb of what to do to at least get out there, he just never launched, and he ended up quitting in 2012. So he sat on it for about a year and then quit. Then another year passed, and Chip came back to me in 2013 and decided, you know what, that it was his time to give this a shot again. And this is a different Chip. This, I will tell you, because I knew Chip when he was really starting his professional fitness career. When I first met him when he was starting his first professional part of the career, he really was with stars in his eyes. He was very excited, really wanting to do a lot more professionally in fitness. And all I could say is he was a chicken with his head cut off, stars in his eyes. He was running all over the place, doing so much, but pretty much not really being effective in many things. And that's the difference that I see now in Chip, is that he's not that guy anymore. He's come to find himself. He's now sharing himself openly and strongly, more confidently. And that is the biggest differences that I've seen with Chip, is that he's not trying to be everything for everyone anymore. And that, I feel, was what was holding him back. And until he came back around, he's now a diamond coach working towards 1-star diamond. And he's now building a team of people below him who respect him, of course, as a leader, but are following in his footsteps. So I'm glad to bring both of these guys on the call. So if you guys want to come on and say hello to the group.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
So I am glad to have you both here. Thank you so much. I wanted to, first of all, before we go into some questions, start with you, Erin. And I just want you to kind of give the crowd your background prior to joining as a coach. And then why did you decide you wanted to be a coach way back then?
So basically, I have a story basically that goes back to I was 225 pounds and then I got too thin. So I've kind of always been both ends of the spectrum. So before I actually started as a coach, I lost weight when I was younger and got too thin and hired a personal trainer. So I kind of knew that fitness was my niche because I loved helping people. I saw how much she helped me. I did a little bit of stuff in fitness, not too much, taught some spin classes. Then I just went and did the normal, work for somebody else. And I was, for New York State, what we call basically a CO, corrections officer, for the New York State's worst sex offenders that there are out there. So that was an interesting gig. I did a little bit of personal training on the side, and I taught group fitness classes. And I really was that person, like you kind of said with Chip. I was kind of like the person with running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I was trying to do everything with fitness and, still working a full-time job. And it wasn't really until I decided to be a coach in 2011, and I did not do anything with it in 2011. And then when I really started building was when I actually decided to plug into some systems and actually see what I already created locally and kind of tap into that market.
Cool. We're going to actually dive a lot deeper into what you were just last talking about in a moment. But before we do, Chip, why don't you come on and give us an idea of your background, of course, prior to, becoming a coach, and why did you initially join as a coach? So not the second time, but that first time in 2011 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was first signing up to be a coach, or actually previous to that, I was just kind of all over the place. I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you said that. I was working full-time for the government doing state tax appeals, and I was also part-time teaching fitness. I got into fitness simply because I was about, 215 pounds. For a 5'9" guy, I was pretty overweight. And I just I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I was insecure and just lacking confidence. And so I just really stumbled into a gym. I was about 19 years old. A friend of mine and I would go to dinner often. And instead of going to dinner, she asked me to go to the gym. She knew I didn't have plans, so I didn't have an excuse not to go. And we went to a spinning class. And one thing led to another. I met friends at the gym. I lost some weight. And I just kind of began to be all over the place. I mean, I would teach at 6 a.m. I would teach at noon. I would teach at 5:30, 6:30 at night. And I was always running around just doing something to keep myself busy, but I wasn't truly making any progress or going anywhere. So I decided to become a personal trainer. I ended up becoming a trainer, managing personal trainers. I think I made like $9 an hour every time I would train a client. And I was just like, how are people doing this? And this is unrealistic. It's not possible for me to do this, but I enjoy it. And so I began to get a little bit more of a following, and I met some people who were coaches, and I just saw them being insanely successful. And I really wasn't sure how they were doing it, but I knew that if I paid close enough attention that I could probably pick up on it. And I met Christine, I met you, and then, you were just your personality was just so bubbly. And honestly, you could have asked me for my credit card and I would have just handed it to you. I would have done anything that you asked of me right then. And so that was why I got into coaching. I just knew that people were doing it that were in fitness, and I knew that if I paid close enough attention that hopefully I could just have a small percentage of the success that they were having.
Yes, perfect. A great place to stop because I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. But let's go back to Erin now. So I want to bring you back into it. So you said that you joined, you were living that lifestyle and fitness, and you were helping a lot of people. So when you first joined as a coach, I know, honestly, because you are one of my personally sponsored coaches, I know that I didn't leave you to hang in terms of telling you what to do and what you can get started with. Let's kind of dive deep into that mindset of what was holding you back. You had all the tools right there in the beginning. You were being instructed on kind of how to get started and get going. So what were you actually doing? And then why weren't you taking much action?
So I think for me, I was the typical salesperson. And it was funny because I went back a couple months ago and looked on my timeline of around 2011 when I signed up to be a coach. And everything was sales stuff that I would tell my coaches to not put up right now. And I think I just wasn't building relationships with people. I was that stereotypical, like Chip said, personal trainer that thought I had to physically train people or physically, be teaching a class. And I never thought, and I lost some weight with Tybo and Turbo Jam back in the day. And I always recommended Turbo Jam to people. So I never kind of put the two and two together. And that was kind of a light bulb that went off and, I was already recommending this stuff to people. So why wasn't I doing more with it? But I think the big part for me was not plugging into any of the systems that you gave us. So I basically had a big head, if you want to say it like that, really. And I thought I had to, be physically training people. And then I really just didn't build relationships. I mean, if I look at it and 100% be honest with you, it was just, can I make a little bit of money as far as sales? So I wasn't actually putting my heart that I have with fitness into that.
So then what were you doing? So you were trying to sell more. Your message was predominantly sales, which was then scaring people away from you in your own personal environment, because in that same time frame, you then opened up your own group fitness studio, right? What year was that?
2012.
Okay. So in 2012 is when you were really kind of initiating building this, but you were still more in a sales mode. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say towards the end of 2012, it was a little bit more where I saw the potential, you know what I mean? And that I think was from, I had a great following in my area from other classes that I always taught. So I really think it was just developing that relationship a little bit more than outside the gym with the people and seeing what they needed and, again, building that relationship. And that's where I think it really took off.
So were you predominantly building your business in the early stages? So in the stages where you weren't really doing very well, where were you predominantly building? Was it more so online? Was it in your classes or your hometown?
I would say it's more hometown, yeah, to begin with, which now it's more, online, but at the very beginning it was more look at these people that already, would follow me if I told them I was moving tomorrow morning to another class.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I kind of really just tapped into that market of, like we've said before, like the tribe, people that follow you, and that's where I really started building first and then outward from that.
Okay, so then in the beginning, then when you were really focusing on the people that you knew in your warm market, as they call it,
Yeah.
and the people that were attending your classes and that would follow you, but then on the other side of it all, you weren't doing the best activity as an entrepreneur because you were being more salesy. Was that then burning bridges and scaring people off, like trying to hide from you? How was that kind of working?
Yeah, I would say so at first. And it just really, I think I had to change my mindset and get into people's, like, I don't know, I read this book by Darren Hardy, and get into people's bed, he said, basically, and, figure out what they need and want. And so at first I was totally sales. And when I shifted that and actually listened more to people, I think that's when it kind of all came together.
Yeah, so give me an idea then of what actually was that mark and moment for you where here you were trying to make it happen, but you really weren't making things happen because you were taking an approach that really wasn't open for people. How come then you didn't decide that this wasn't for you, or why you didn't decide you wanted to quit?
Well, I think at that time I, was bringing on people. And for me, I don't know. I always say, like, the moment you sign one coach, you're kind of automatically a leader. So I really just had to get it together and know that these people put some sort of trust in me to help them. So that's where I had to say to myself, like, it's either do or die. And I had to plug in, find the systems. And I really think when I started, that's when my whole team, we all kind of started together, because I didn't know what I was doing until I had to then tap into those systems, which I should have done years ago.
That's a great point. So you were humbling yourself alongside with them. I would say you were lucky that someone wanted to join with you if you were definitely pulling a salesy approach, but then you started to build a team of people. But that was the switch where you saw that I'm now responsible for people. And that then turned your mindset of you need to be a better leader. You need to constantly educate yourself and make sure that they have someone to follow as an example. It's kind of like parenting. And I know that you don't have children, you have you're a parent to pet. But with parenting, when you have kids, obviously now you can't live that, single life, or I guess you can, but that's not probably a good thing to do. But your life does change. You now have responsibilities for someone, and you can't easily go and do X, Y, and Z. And I feel that's the same with coaching, is when you decide to bring on someone as a coach or a team member with yourself, you now have to stop acting like a teenager. You have to stop acting like a free and fancy-free 20-year-old, off club hopping. You have to now buckle down and be a professional and adult and understand you got to put your big boy or girl pants on and start leading. Once you guys started to kind of come around and you noticed that, because you, of course, brought on some new teammates, and you started to actually dig down deeper into yourself as a leader, what was some of the activity and the actions then that you realized you were doing wrong and that you needed to flip that switch and do better?
First, it was sales. Second, it was, again, building relationships with people. But it was really taking, the 3 vital behaviors that we do. And the one big thing for me was being the product in a sense. I always, drink Shakeology and whatnot. But I think for me, just doing the home workout programs alongside with my challengers and my coaches, that changed my business. That was one big thing, doing the workouts. But another big thing for me with the big head syndrome was that I always looked at personal development as something that I didn't really need to read a book. And I read, and my team reads, and that really helped, I think, me as a leader grow when now I have this huge team underneath me as well. So I think personal development, really just listening to people more and trying to hold back that sale, even though the sale might come at the end, obviously. But that personal development and really just being a product of the product more.
Well, good. I'm going to put a pin on you right now because I want to jump over to Chip and pretty much ask about the same questions. And his interpretation is, of course, going to be different. But I want to then wrap you guys all back up together to give some sound action and activity that you are now doing that really is starting to really move your business as opposed to where it wasn't initially. So, Chip, what I want to jump back to you with is then, okay, so you first joined, you were super excited. You were excited that you saw a lot of people were having success doing this. Then what is it that you did in the beginning or weren't doing in the beginning in terms of that wasn't working out for you?
Well, to be honest, if you had asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, it's not my fault. I tried." I didn't do anything really. I didn't even try or attempt to plug in. I was basically just halfway there. I was halfway committed. And I feel like that sometimes the easy way out when you don't understand something is to not take ownership or take it upon yourself to really figure out, okay, what's going on? Because, I mean, in order to be an entrepreneur, you really have to be a student. You have to be willing to learn everything there is to learn. And, sometimes not have work hours, like be willing to do more than is what is expected of you, I guess. And that just wasn't something that I was willing to do. And it was just a mindset, I guess.
So I know initially in the beginning, this was something that I had talked with you a lot about. So when you said right there that you were not 100% in, you were just halfway in, kind of dipping your toe in, I believe that really relates to you actually weren't even using the product because you weren't even drinking Shakeology. When I was telling you, you have to be able to have an experience with the product to know how it might be able to benefit other people. I know I've said that multiple times with you, and I even remember holding a call over your head, meaning that I said, well, I'll have a call with you to train you if you get active on Shakeology and start using it. And I remember you never took that step. So with that, you were kind of dipping your toe in and really not completely investing yourself. But then you were what were you really doing then? So what were you doing in your day that you felt you were trying, but it really wasn't?
The extent, honestly, of what I did was just research other coaches on social media and try to copycat, basically. That was my idea of research at the time. And when you say I wasn't a product of the product, I mean, that was exactly right. I mean, if I've noticed anything in the past, couple years since I have signed back up and really plugged in, it's just been that once you start to do some of the workouts at home and you start to get on Shakeology, it's unavoidable that some aspect of coaching comes up in conversation. And that's really what I was lacking. I wasn't talking to anyone. Like, I would go to the gym and I would teach my classes and I would train my personal training clients, and I was a coach, but no one knew that. I mean, maybe once a month they would see me post on my status that that Turbo Fire was on sale, and they were like, okay, what's he talking about? But I wasn't like doing anything at home to have a normal conversation with people. And I am working with people on my team right now that say, I don't really know how to talk to people about coaching or about my challenge groups. And my first question is, okay, well, what was the last program you completed? And, how many days a week do you drink Shakeology? Because I just feel like that I know from experience that that's what I was not doing. And that's why nothing Beachbody related was coming up in conversation, because I didn't have anything to talk about it,
But weren't you having, obviously being in the fitness industry, weren't you having those questions of people just coming up to you, just having normal conversation about their goals of what they're in the gym working for, or where they still have struggle points with, or issues that they have? Didn't you have any of those normal conversations without even, Beachbody being the topic of it all? But weren't those conversations of just life happening?
They were totally happening. And, the common response that I would have to people was due to the fact that I was uneducated. So if someone said, I've got this baby weight I'm trying to get off and I've really been working hard, I've been coming to classes 5 days a week, I would say something, very, I guess you could say generic, just like, okay, well, you need to make sure you're eating clean, or you need to make sure, you're watching what you're eating. I just would never elaborate. You know what I mean? And it was simply because I was uneducated. I didn't have anything to offer them because I hadn't done the research or had the experience myself.
Mm. But would you feel that, for instance, you don't necessarily have to be, a fitness professional as well as a nutrition expert to be able to help someone? But do you feel that if you just vested more questions rather than just answering them? So for instance, if Aaron said to me, obviously I can't say that to you. If Aaron said to me, how do I lose this baby weight? And if my response back to her was just, well, make sure you're eating clean and make sure you're exercising, I've now not really understood her at all, because she just asked me one question and I just told her an assumption for an answer. But so when you were having those conversations, did you not come back to dig deeper, really kind of excavate more of the problem? Like, did you ask them, well, what are you currently doing now? Where do you find you struggle? Did you ask any of those questions, or did you find you immediately just tried to answer and be gone?
I think that I was not interested in pursuing the conversation because I just wasn't interested in, I knew I was there to teach and get paid and leave, or I was there to train someone and get paid and leave. And I just didn't do the research. I wasn't interested just because I was, like you said, running around trying to get to the next place that I was trying to be,
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a great point, because it really then comes to show how much you have actually grown then, knowing that, first of all, it's not just about you, and that your agenda isn't just your own agenda with getting from one place to the next and, moving past people, but now you as a person really are vested in and interested in actually just having conversations in general with people. And that, I believe, is probably one of the big secrets of why you're having such success right now. But before we actually go into that, though, so why then did you quit?
Well, and to say one more thing, it wasn't so much that I was only interested in myself. Mm-hmm. I was totally lacking confidence. That was the end result of it. I was not confident that I could provide these people with an accurate response as to why I could help them lose weight. So instead, I didn't try to dive deeper in that conversation just because I didn't believe in myself enough to be able to provide them with a solution, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, completely. So then you came to that decision of, this just isn't for me. And you said it that, you pretty much put a lot of excuses, and you decided to actually formally quit. So what was your feeling or your mindset of actually submitting a cancellation?
I have just always been one of those people. I remember my mom used to say, he's got a lot of quit in him. And when things get tough, the easy thing to do is to quit. It just is. And I have always, for some reason, I'm not proud to say it, but I am going to be transparent and say that there have just been times when I didn't understand things and I didn't care enough to research them. So I just quit. And that was exactly what happened with coaching. I just didn't care enough to research it. And I thought, I've done everything I can and it's just not working. So it's not for me.
So that's a good point that you just brought up, that really it comes down to when it becomes hard, many people will take that quick emergency exit and quit. But really, this shouldn't be super simple, because if you are, joining an opportunity where you're getting promised a boatload of money up front and a lot of customers and followers right up front, I'd be a little nervous about that opportunity, because I feel that that's not going to be around for long. This is definitely a longevity. And just with everything, again, I always, put that shoe on the other foot. If I'm seeing an opportunity online, someone is offering it and I'm seeing it for the first time, I'm probably not going to jump right into it. And the same thing goes for when someone shared this business opportunity with me. I didn't join it. I actually waited a year to join after that person shared it with me, because I thought it was, again, just dumb. Why would people be paying a monthly fee to be a part of discount supplements? Because that's how it was presented to me. The person obviously wasn't sharing with me how I'd be able to effectively start to grow this in my own right. That's a good point. A lot of people, when it does become hard, or you are faced, I think this is the other side, is when you are faced showing your inadequacies and where you're not as confident, or where you're not completely sure of what to do, the easier road is just to quit and move on. So let's come back down to it then. So then a year passes and you decide, I'm going to do this again. Why? Why did you decide you're going to jump back into something that didn't work?
I mean, to be honest, I've been one of those people that I really value that face-to-face interaction so much. Like, I get so much from seeing someone's facial expression and talking to them in person, more so than like a phone call. And I attended a seminar, Marketing Impact Academy, with Chalene Johnson, and there was so many people there that were people that I had watched become insanely successful in this business. And I had also had an opportunity previous to attending that seminar to meet up with some local coaches who were in my area, who had just happened to relocate to my area and were already successful. And we, got reunited at a Super Saturday or Sunday event. And I just saw all of these people, and, not to talk negative of them, but they were just, your average everyday people who were, working a full-time job or a corporate job and got into this part-time gig called coaching, and fast forward a couple years and they were just having crazy success. But more so than it being about success or money, they were really helping people. I mean, they were truly finding solutions for people that were long-term while building a team of people. And I just thought, wow, I mean, how cool would it be to do fitness full time? I remember thinking years ago that I was getting paid $9 to be a personal trainer and $20 an hour to teach a class. And I'm, teaching 5 classes a day and wondering how in the world I'm going to be able to pay rent and car payment and all this stuff, and then these people are making their own schedule, being able to go on vacation when they would like, not having to report to someone every morning at 9 a.m. I mean, I thought these are the kind of things that I want for my life,
Okay, so you're seeing a bunch of people around you, people that you have known personally and additionally within the community as well, having great success with it. And you're seeing multiple layers of success, a small level to an insane level. So how come then when you decided to join back in, you didn't have that fear in your belly that this was going to be the same all over again? What was different this time, and what did you actually do differently this time as you started?
One of the things I decided that I would do differently was either go all in or not at all. Because I knew, like I said before, that I was halfway there when I joined before. And I knew that halfway got me nothing. And I just decided that, in order for me to be able to take this on, if I really care that much about it, the most I can do for myself is to plug all the way in, be able to kind of take something else off of my plate. And what I actually did was I vowed to stop personal training and to cut back my teaching schedule so that I could actually do one of the home workout programs for myself, get on Shakeology regularly, and be able to kind of experience what a normal person would experience as a customer of a coach.
That's a great perspective. So meaning you were willing to give up your $9 an hour for personal training? Right. No, I know it's being in fitness. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people out there who think fitness is actually a well-paying job, but being a fitness instructor, personal trainer, we all do it for the love of helping people. And the only little bit of money that you do make actually goes back towards buying new sneakers or buying more music. It really doesn't pay you at all. You actually I think you really lose money being a fitness professional, because think about how much time you prepare, like creating classes and getting your music together and driving there and then the conversations. You really lose money for the 1 hour that you get paid. All right, let's bring Erin back in. So Erin, what I want to kind of dive and finish up with is what really can you give for advice for someone that was like you, where when they were starting, they wanted to make this happen, they loved this opportunity, but they may have been going about it all the wrong way and not really seeing much change. So what is your strongest advice? And if you can, because I, of course, see what's happening on your team, and you've got one of the strongest teams. Results Matters is you call your name Team Results Matters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So You have one of the strongest teams of a lot of moving coaches. So it's not just you and a couple people within your organization that are creating success. You have a lot of multiple layers of people who are moving up in their business. So that does say something really strongly about you and your leadership. So if you can you give some advice in terms of the strongest activity that you did when you were initially invested in building with your team of coaches, and what now is really the big difference that's moving a lot of your downline to actually grow as well?
So I think for us, it goes back to being like, obviously it was being a product first, like getting involved in one of the programs, running challenge groups consistently, like every single month, everybody running challenge groups. And we, as a team, we run them together. And so we really, really put stress on Success Club first, hitting that the first couple weeks within the month. And we're so strong as a team that we really work all together. So there's not a day that goes by when somebody posts in my coach group. And I love seeing that before I can rush to answer a question from somebody. It's taken a lot off my plate, so they're actually doing it. But I think just teaching them, challenge groups, really, I think the foundation of our business is helping people first and just making sure those people have a great experience. And then I really think then upgrading people to a coach kind of is easy if you really let them kind of believe and see in the culture that you're creating, obviously, if they want to get into it. And for us, it was just really plugging into systems. So I basically took everything that you've given us, made it my own, made it in my own words, and just had a place for people to have everything at their fingertips. We have a new coach training that we run, which is, I always thought I had to do everything that was Beachbody's way, and I developed my own training system that was 14 days, and it just works. And it's been working now for the past 2 years. So my coaches know when they sign up coaches that it's the second Monday of every month. So I think we're all on the same page as far as that goes. But I really just think we've just worked together to kind of create this system and help people and with the challenge groups. And I think that's really how it kind of got where it is today.
Mm-hmm. So before I actually switch over to Chip, so that people have heard before is, what you're saying to do is what people have heard all the time. Be a product of the product, run challenge group, be consistent, and engage with people. They've heard that multiple times, but still many people are failing to make that happen. One of the big areas that is of challenge is they can't even fill their challenge groups. So how are you able to, and how is your new coaches able to fill challenge groups so that you can even move into that culture creation and relationship?
So I guess I'm really just teaching them not to make the same mistakes I did as far as sales and stuff like that. So I'm really just having them first. I'm always saying you have to obviously do the program yourself and make yourself a testimonial first, even if it's your first 7 days of Shakeology. Just give everybody a review, but give everybody a review that's not selling them something. It's just saying, this worked for me and here's why. And you might not even mention the 21-day fix or whatever the program is. And then, we always get those people who are interested. Oh, yes, I'm in. And I really just stress it can be 20 messages before you actually tell somebody hey, would you be interested in this is what I'm doing. So I think for us, all of my coaches know to really ask a ton of questions. And that goes back to me because I never did that before. So I think I really, really stress to just get to know that person, listen more, and find out where they need help, what they need help with. And I think that's really what has helped us a ton, is just digging deep into finding why people need what we have.
Well, that just resurfaced again. The same thing is too many times, and I know that I can say this as a fact, that too many times people are excited that someone came to them with their hand raised saying, hey, I'm looking into your challenge, or I'm looking to be a coach. And immediately that person has jumped on to them with telling them what to do next rather than finding out more about what they're really interested in and where their struggle is and how this might be able to facilitate and help their struggle. So it really comes down to, like you said, having a back and forth email communication like 20 times, not necessarily 20, but a lot. And I know myself, I have the same feeling when I'm drafting an email and I'm sending it off and I'm not telling that person how to go sign up or how to go order. Sometimes when I send that message off, I'm like, all right, here I am sending another message where I'm not giving them a clear direction of, okay, what's next? I'm still just sending them a bunch of questions again. But that works because, again, people really see that you're vested and interested in them. So, all right, let me wrap that up with you then, Chip, as well. So what now are you seeing as the big difference, and what kind of advice can you give, especially to your new coaches and other people who are in your same position who may have quit or are just sitting in the back burner and they now want to be re-engaged and make some difference? What is the big advice you can give?
I don't want to echo what Erin says, but I really do think that, number one, that asking questions is what I am doing differently, just trying to learn more about that other person and really understand why do they want this and what do they want to get out of it? And, do they just want to lose 5 pounds, or do they need like clean eating for the rest of their life, or do they just have a vacation coming up that they're trying to get ready for? So besides that, I really think that the other thing that's most important is doing things together and really building relationships with teammates that, even if you just have one or two coaches, you're not going to have those two people be successful unless you really take the time to get to know them and know why they're in it, and not just text them because they haven't hit Success Club, or text them just because that their Shakeology went on inactive. Like, you don't want to be one of those people that's just asking someone something that's business related. You want this to be fun and engaging, and not something that, make them feel like they're at another one of their jobs.
Definitely. I agree completely. Well, I can't thank you both enough for being so transparent and opening up what has worked for you guys. And I'm glad to be able to feature you both because, of course, I'm proud of you. But also, I feel that this is really going to be able to impact a lot of other people's lives and their businesses. One little tip I can also offer, because having conversations and having a way to understand how to answer or ask questions without trying to just move people into the sale or to the coach, an exercise that can be done, just start jotting down the types of struggles that people in your common ground have. And what you can do then is actually then write down a bunch of questions that would be what you can ask them to ensure that you can keep that conversation going. So if one of their struggles is that they just don't have any time to work out because of their schedule and their work, then you might want to dive down and have a lot of questions that might be able to keep the conversation going so you can have a real understanding of, well, how is their day structured? What do they actually do for their work? Do they like to work out for a long time or a short amount of time? Really try to find out different questions. So if you can brainstorm the different types of struggles that many people have, and then what are multiple questions around those struggles can you ask to dig deeper to have a better understanding about that person, but not so much just their struggle, but that person in their life. And that might be able to help people kind of have better conversations as well. Well, I thank you guys again, and I appreciate all of you guys for listening to this audio. And make sure you stay tuned and check in with additional trainings and audios that we have available for you.